While everyone's out playing Final Fantasy 15 already, I'm here still waiting for my copy of the game to come in. So to stave off my pain of not having the game yet, I decided to check out the anime Brotherhood and the CG movie Kingsglaive. I'm going to keep this unscripted because I did just watch this last night and I could get the game in right now, so I want to keep this nice and short. Well, not short, just quick. Just expect spoilers. So I'm going to start off by talking about Brotherhood. The first episode wasn't needed. It should have just been lumped with the last episode because every episode in Brotherhood is like a little mini tale about each of the characters, and all they did with the first episode was just kind of tease something, and there wasn't even like a full resolution of anything in that episode. It really just continues in the last episode, so they really should have just lumped them together. Okay, so moving on. Some points of the character development felt a little cheap, like Prompto's sudden decision to lose weight, because in his episode, he was a fat kid who just took pictures all the time and he was by himself. And then eventually he takes care of a dog that happened to be Luna Freya's dog, and then Luna Freya sent him a letter to tell him, hey, you should become Noctis's friend. Or actually, she worded it like she expected him to be Noctis's friend already. So Prompto decided, hey, I'm gonna be his friend. I should probably be his friend. So he tries to approach Noctis, trips, and then Noctis tries to pick him up, and Prompto's hears him say, oh, you're heavy. It's like, oh no, I'm heavy? And then so he decides to lose weight. I felt like that was a little cheap. I mean, I get it. He wanted to lose weight, but I didn't think that would be the reason, just because of Noctis. But it's whatever. It's a minor thing. Probably not that much. A lot of you probably don't think that way, but I felt like that. But overall, each episode added a lot to the main characters. I really quite enjoyed Gladius's episode. Felt like it gave him a lot more character than I expected him to, because it kind of gave him like this brute. He used to be like one of those brute characters in animes, but with a heart of gold, one of those kind of things. I thought it was nice. Alright, so I also found it odd, while this was supposed to take place in the Final Fantasy world, a lot of settings felt very Japanese. I said this because I know Final Fantasy 15 is supposed to be more modern, but just seeing all this Japanese stuff felt very off. It really just throws you off. And every now and then they'll show you Noctis's kingdom and stuff, all that feels very kingly, medievally in a bit, just extravagant. Moving on, connection to the Platinum demo. It's not quite made obvious, but if you got keen eyes, you'll spot it. The whole first episode shows Noctis about to die. He's about to die by this snake monster, Lamia, or whatever it's supposed to be. And basically, this was confirmed through the outside sources. I believe the Square Enix pretty much said, yeah, this is what connects this to the Platinum demo. It's basically when he nearly dies, he kind of goes to a mini coma kinda. According to Square Enix, I believe they said it was supposed to be the monster infused it, caused it. But it doesn't really seem that way, especially if you watch the 5th episode. It kind of just seems like he goes into this shock coma kind of thing. But that's the connection. He ends up having a dream, and you play that dream in Platinum Demo. It's not much, but if you'll notice he has the whole little carbuncle thing next to his head on the pillow in the anime, so there's your connection. If you're quick to spot that, there it is. The final episode purposely doesn't let you in on some details, so it can be aggravating if this is your only source of the Final Fantasy 15 story. I'm sure a lot of you are going to play the game, but if you watch that 5th episode, Noctis is oh, you're also responsible for that. It's what's that? Well, they don't tell you, because it's most likely going to be something they're going to talk about in the game. It's aggravating, but I get it. I get why they did that. Moving on, Brotherhood was mainly made just to get some more character for each of the main cast. I hope this doesn't mean that in the main game, they don't give us enough of a look into each character to truly appreciate them. Alright, so yeah, I do have this fear. They made this anime so we can get a closer, more character building for each of the characters. Prompto, Ignis, Gladius, I keep forgetting his full name. Gladius, and whatever, and Noctis. This anime does really give us a nice look at each of the characters, so it makes me feel like they had to make this, because in the game, they don't do that. I hope that's not the case. If you've already played the game a little bit, you should be able to tell me if that's what's happening. But anyway, overall, Brotherhood was surprisingly very enjoyable for what it was. the little bit of action they had was nice, and it was a nice look at the main characters, because you really do get to see what makes these characters, and I really did enjoy that. So Brotherhood was definitely worth the watch. So we're going to move on to Kingsglaive. From my understanding, Kingsglaive happens during the same time frame as the main game, but Noctis and crew are already off on their road trip, while all this other action happens from the city you just left. So basically, Noctis and the crew leave Lucius, and then all what happens while they leave is Kingsglaive. That's what I understand. The movie looks gorgeous, with action scenes being as extravagant as you can expect from a Square Enix film. So if you've watched Advent Children and how over the top the action was, you can expect the same kind of stuff from this movie. But maybe not as ridiculous, but it's not, well, there's definitely some crazy stuff that happens in this movie that you'll be like, yeah, that's pretty crazy, but it's good. Like, especially a lot of the stuff Nyx does, a lot of his warping around is pretty cool. There's a slight overlap between the anime and the movie. At the very beginning of the movie, there's a scene where Luna stays behind as Regis is carrying off Noctis. That is literally the same scene that you see in the anime, so there is some overlap there. Makes me wonder if that's going to be in the game as well, that specific scene. But it seems to be a very key moment in the story. Before I go on, there's like a couple things in this movie that in the if I read the subtitles, I would pronounce it differently, but they just say it completely different. Like Tenebrae, I can't even remember which way they say it. I think they say Tenebrae, but I would totally pronounce it Tenebrae, but it's whatever. Most of the characters in the movie look like their game counterparts except for Luna Freya. She's the only one that looks very different from her counterpart, and I have no idea why. And that's very true. If you look at the game models and their game and the movie counterparts, they all look pretty similar, just more realistic. But then you look at Luna Freya and you compare her to her game model, they look like two completely different characters. I don't know why that's the case, but that's that. It just looks very different. It threw me off. Like when I first saw her, it's like, that's supposed to be Luna Freya? Really? We're given little time to truly appreciate any characters of Kingsglaive. They try to develop the characters, but it feels shallow at many moments and doesn't really get you attached to any of the characters. Because of this, the main character Nyx felt a bit bland. The entire time we're hinted at some past for Nyx. He has a sister, but the thing is that it is never brought up until a short 2 sentences in the heat of the action in the movie. How are you supposed to feel for Nyx if that doesn't get its proper time? Like, seriously, if we're supposed to really relate to Nyx, they should give us more time to understand what's going on with his past. There's a couple flashbacks, and every now and then you'll hear Nyx just kind of sitting there, and then you hear a flashback voice in his head, and then that's it. They don't really give it its proper time. When it comes to that moment in the movie where he actually says it out loud and he had a sister, that's it. There's no flashback, there's nothing really talked about, because we're immediately tossed into the action right after he says it, so we can't really basically take in what he just said. Because of that, Nyx really did feel really bland. I can see fragments of what they were trying to have for Nyx there, but it just felt bad. Also, they keep referring to Nyx as a hero in the movie. I'm not sure if I overlooked something, but the movie never really explains why he was a hero. Unless I missed something, because literally at the beginning of the movie, they keep calling him the hero. Alright, hero. They use it as a form, as something to just irk him on. Yeah, right, hero. I don't understand. They don't really explain that too well to me. I mean, if they did, I didn't notice it. That's how badly it was explained. The way they wrote this movie was in a way where if you don't watch this, you won't be missing out on key plot points in the game. A lot of what happens is pretty self-contained. Without saying too much, they pretty much made sure that everyone in Kingsglaive won't be showing up in the game in one form or another. I don't mind this too much, but it sucks that there won't be much crossover between the movie and the game. What I mean by that is that a lot of the characters of Kingsglaive, in one form or another, are written off. Some of them die, some of them are bye, I'm leaving, or something, or they're just straight up gone. And by the end of the movie, you'll pretty much understand why nobody's gonna be showing up. I won't say what happens to who, but you'll see, okay, yeah, I'm not seeing this character in the game at all. It sucks, but I can understand why they did it, because they didn't want to make this too integral to the plot of the game, because they didn't want people to feel like they had to go watch the movie to get the full story. The main characters of the movie were the Kingsglaive, but it felt much more like a reason to give the king and Lunafreya more character development, or more character building, actually. I mean, well, I'm sure they don't reveal key plot points because it's being reserved for the game, but we still get a chance to see some of the motivations of the two characters, specifically Lunafreya. You'll understand more when you actually watch the movie. Let's just say she's very devoted to helping Noctis. I'm not sure why they're calling Alexander a demon, or is it Damon? See, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier. It's spelled Damon, but they say demon. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal with that is. I'm not sure. Damon's always supposed to be pronounced demon, but I don't know. But Alexander is a summon. You know, like basically, you know, all the summons from previous games. Alexander is that giant monster that you see in the first bit of the game, and you see him, not in the game, sorry, the movie, and you see him later on in the movie again, because they use him again. And that's like straight up Alexander. He has his whole shoulder pads opening up and shooting out the crap. That's basically Alexander. If that's not Alexander, I'm sorry. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be a weapon, but that felt very much like Alexander to me. So, and I'm not sure why they didn't call him an astral, because he was huge. So maybe because it was a weapon. When I say weapon, go back to like Final Fantasy VII. They started using these giant creatures called weapons, and maybe that's what they were going with, and that's supposed to be a weapon, so that's why they call it a demon. I don't know, but that was the case. I thought that was Alexander, so I thought that was an astral, so it threw me off. But, okay, so, in addition to him, towards the end of the movie, we get to see these statues come to life. I'm not sure if these are supposed to be the Lushai. I won't really explain what that is, because I'm gonna leave that for the movie. These statues come to life, and I thought they were supposed to be like maybe a mix of some old summons called Yojimbo and Odin maybe, but Odin's supposed to be on a horse and stuff, so it didn't quite make sense. So I thought maybe, are these supposed to be the Knights of the Round? Yeah, another summon that from my understanding only exists in Final Fantasy VII, and there's supposed to be like 12 of them, but in the movie there was only 3, so I don't know. And along with that, there's also a special appearance of everyone's favorite purple octopus, Ultros. I wasn't expecting him, but he's in there. I don't know why, but he's in there, and I think that's a pretty cool addition. While I believe the characters weren't fully developed, I thought the climax of events in this movie were fantastic. The build-up was great, and the payoff was satisfying. There was even an unexpected twist to the plot. I won't say anything because that would give away too much, but there is a point in the movie where all of a sudden it's like, wait, what? What? That's supposed to be a thing? Well, it is, and it was cool. Moving on, I watched this movie in English, and I have to say, they did a pretty good job lip-syncing most of the dialogue, and I feel like the acting was pretty spot on. They did a great job on casting. I am bummed that they don't share the same voice actors with the game, but I don't know. I guess, is that just like a weird way of saying like, hey, game voice actors is just not as good as movie actors, guys? If that's the case, that's pretty messed up. You would think video game voice actors can play those roles right, man. I guess maybe it's a payroll thing, because maybe while you can hire someone for a movie, it probably costs more for them to do a game. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of that. So final thoughts on the movie. Not perfect, but still highly enjoyable with great action. It's definitely not perfect, but I definitely recommend it if you're a Final Fantasy fan. Do I recommend watching both of these? Yes, if you want more character building for the characters. Brotherhood for your main 4 guys. Kingsglaive, surprisingly, if you want to see some more Regis and Luna, because they are definitely in the movie, and you do get to see them talk a lot more, and you see more of their character, and I think that's really cool. They're definitely not necessary if you want to just play the game and understand the story, because they're definitely written in a way where you don't have to worry about it. Brotherhood is definitely more focused on just more character building for the main cast, and Kingsglaive is like its own little contained story, while in the main game doesn't really affect what's happening to Noctis in the group, basically. And I'm sure like the results of that event will be shown in the game, but you won't actually know what happened exactly, because it wasn't really necessary, because the Kingsglaive started and pretty much ended in that movie. So with that said, if I suggest to watch one, I definitely recommend to watch Brotherhood, and Brotherhood is on YouTube, so that's even easier for you to watch. Kingsglaive, you might have to find special ways to attain it or buy the Blu-ray. So that's pretty much it. Sorry if I sound a little stagnant here, because I was trying to keep this flowing as much as I can, because it's unscripted. I want this video out before I get my hands on Final Fantasy 15. Because if I get my hands on Final Fantasy 15, oh boy, a whole lot of halting on work progress. Because that game's going to be long and it's going to be amazing. And I do recommend Kingsglaive and Brotherhood. So yeah, Firemac saying bye bye. See you next time.